Magnus Carlsen is no stranger to the vast world of chess. The man is a Norwegian chess grandmaster ranked #1, who has won 5 World Chess, 4 World Rapid Chess, and 6 World Blitz Chess Championships. Many great players consider him the best chess player of all time, and all for the right reasons. The guy is renowned for wiping hustlers, grandmasters, and world champions alike. Welcome back to our channel today. We will explore Magnus's fastest wins against some of the most famous and strongest players. Before we get to that, do subscribe to our channel for awesome chess game analysis content on your favorite players and updates on the chess world. Now let's roll. Our first game for you today is against the really strong super grandmaster Sergei Karyakin, who has beaten almost everyone in his career. Anyone would poop their pants against this guy, but not Magnus Carlsen. The game started with 3 minutes on the clock, but Magnus didn't even need that much time to beat his opponent. The game began with a traditional e4-e5 followed by knight f3 and knight c6. Nothing out of the ordinary. Bishop b6 responded with knight f6, and we have the Roy Lopez opening, something Magnus is very familiar with. Magnus Sierra plays pawn to d3, and Sergei responds with bishop c5 after trading the knight for his bishop. Magnus brings forth his other knight and Sergei castles after spending a few seconds thinking about his next move. Magnus castles as well. Sergei attacks the knight with his bishop, but Magnus kicks it away with h3, also creating an escape square for his king after knight c4 and rook e8. Magnus offers a trade of bishops, but the opponent declines, so he attacks Sergei's knight on d6. Sergei defends with a pawn to g6 and Magnus moves back. Sergei moves as g-pawn up, attacking the bishop yet again, and Magnus responds with an equal threat. Pawn to g4 now. Instead of taking the bishop, Sergei retreats, which was enough for Magnus to capitalize. A few moves into the game, Magnus has brought in the whole army to Sergei's naked king, after training pieces and winning material. Magnus brings his queen into the play, and with a threatened check made in a few, we're only getting started. The next matchup is with Espen Agestein, a fight master, which is the third highest official title in chess with 40 seconds on the clock. Magnus starts with pawn g3, and the opponent responds with d5. This sequence of moves is known as the King's Fine Shadow opening after both players developed their starting pieces. Magnus played a bold move in e4 after developing more pieces, and castling the central pawns are traded. Magnus here invites Agnesine to take his c4 pawn, and judging from Agnostein's reaction, he does not like this move. He refuses to take it and locks the center with d4, and Magnus quickly brings his knight to h4 and then to f5. Then he brings his other knight into the play as well, and is about to decimate his opponent after playing pawn g6, and Magnus bringing his queen to the play. Agnesine trades the knights, which is going to be the beginning of the end for him. Magnus state the knight with his rook, and if you pause for a moment and look at the board, Black barely has any activity, whereas White is all heavily equipped. A few moves in, Magnus wins material and has Agnesine's king surrounded by his rogue and queen. Magnus then takes the h-pawn with his bishop, forcing Agnestein to take it with his own. After Magnus takes with the rook, it is a forced mate, and it only takes him a little as 18 seconds to defeat this fight. Master truly magnificent. However, don't go anywhere because it just gets better. Magnus's next win is against one of the planet's richest and most well-known individuals, Mr. Bill Gates himself. Bill is no master at chess, and it is unfair for anyone, let alone him, to face Magnus head-on. So to make the square, Magnus is only given 30 seconds on the clock with the white pieces. Bill starts with e4, and Magnus plays knight c6 after knight f3, and pawn d5. Bill is left with a choice: take or be taken. However, he finds a third option, defending the bishop. Magnus brings in more attention to the central pawn by attacking it with the knight, and Bill finally breaks the ice by taking the d-pawn. Magnus takes back with his queen, and Magnus has a lot more activity on the board when compared with the opponent's pieces. Bill attacks the queen with his knight, and Magnus quickly slides it to h5, unsure of what to do next. Bill Gates does what any average player would do. Master at work. The following game, though, is a lot more impressive than the prior ones. This time his opponent is Lars Monsen, a famous Norwegian adventurer and journalist who happens to be really good at chess. Yet again, Magnus is given 30 seconds on a clock to take down his opponent. Magnus kicks off with pawn to e4, and Lars replies with the infamous Sicilian defense by moving their pawn to c5 after a few moves have been played. Magnus gallops his knight to d6 with a fork on the Lars's bishop. Lars takes the knight with the bishop. But here comes the queen with a deadly attack. Lars offers a queen trade, but Magnus ain't having none of that. Then Lars plays h6, and Magnus strikes the center with c3 a few developing moves later. Lars castles, and Magnus immediately launches a pawn rush toward his king. Lars is visibly unsure of his next move, so he does what every 700 does, which is to undevelop his knight. This allows the goat to bring his knight into play, and after pushing his g and h pawns, forces Larsen to a knight trade. Magnus continues to focus all his attacks on Lars's king, and under high pressure, Lars makes a grave blunder as a last-ditch effort. He smashes the clock onto the ground to make Magnus time out. I'm just kidding. He accidentally bumped it off the table a few moves later. Magnus completely obliterates his defenses and delivers a deadly checkmate by loading his age pawn to a queen with only 1 second left on the clock. The players shake hands, and Magnus takes a sigh of relief as Lars's dirty tactic of making him time out almost worked. I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do to win against the GOAT. Right, well, these were some of the fastest wins of Magnus Carlsen. Thanks for sticking till the end if you enjoyed it. Drop us a like, and subscribe to Chess Kingdom for more awesome content like this on your feet, and we'll see you in the next one.